Drama Battalion.
Sometimes, man, sometimes it gets hard trying to reach my goal. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes I pretend like I'm real close. Sometimes, just sometimes I have to put my life on hold. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes I can't dream.
Hello, welcome everyone to Blue Span's Dota 2 stream. Hello Lulu, hello Milan, hello Gavin, hello Roman, hello Vinit, hello Tundra, hello Dafa.
Your turn to bat.
Few minutes, Vinit. Are you gonna be here tomorrow?
5 seconds remaining.
Hello Raj.
When I hit that mic, I gain control, speaking purely through my soul. When my mind's in overload, for so long I was cold. I mean, my heart was froze, trembling emotions. How the fuck was I supposed to grow? But how the fuck were they supposed to know that my ambitions had me dissing those creating distance from me and my goals? I was so bitter, feeling like I was the run of the litter, but now I deliver like Domino's dinner. Go call me whatever, but can't call me quitter. I'm stuck in my work. They don't wanna be eating, but then they dessert. Wasn't here in the kitchen, I eating the dishes. Why they here for dessert? They trying to wipe the game, but all they ever
Hi,
do
Fizzy.
is flirt. I give my
Hello,
heart, I
Nudge.
give my soul. I swear I really put in
Thanks,
work.
Hooter.
Now they look up to me. We see from the same height,
Wow,
on the same
first
earth,
pick,
walk the same
Husker.
ground,
Oh,
with
he's
the same
Smurf,
dirt,
I
live
think.
the same love and the same hurt, cause I'm still woke. But my dreams keep teasing me. They ask when I'm gonna blow
Your
up,
turn
but
to
that
pick.
ain't up to me.
Sometimes, man, sometimes it gets hard trying to reach my goal. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes I pretend like I'm real close.
10 seconds remaining.
Sometimes, just sometimes I have to put my life on hold.
5 seconds remaining.
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes I can't dream because I'm still I'm still
There's no chat on the screen? No, I didn't even notice.
Still woke, screaming what the hell I gotta do, where the hell I gotta take it just to get it through to you. Switching states, constant moves. I even
Not sure why you can't see it.
That's the way it happened, but it's not what I wanted to do. Remember talking about the top, talking how we make it, earthquaking when we hit the ground to the day.
And no eye tracker? Jesus, fuck.
Why they watered down, that's why they hate it. Till I make it, learn to simulate.
There we go.
it.
Huh,
Neo
let's
in
even fix it.
the struggle, rapping not by choice, but
Your
where I'm
turn
at, I
to
should
pick.
rejoice. Rolling through the city with the crews.
Ah.
Boys. We up next like we with Colin, called it, feeling we the best. Girls
Your
want me
turn to
signing
pick.
theirs by getting weight up off my chest. Cause God and I
Hello,
may
Shiva.
disagree, but these days I've been feeling blessed. Pretty crazy how this life is mine. Still woke, but I'll get my shine. Bored broke, you know I still grind. Maybe one day I wake up, find I was dreaming the whole time.
Sometimes, man, sometimes it gets hard trying to reach my goal. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes I pretend like I'm real close.
What the fuck is going on?
Sometimes I have to put my life on hold. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes I can't dream because I'm still I'm still
It's not your hero, it's your skill, man.
I'm still I'm still yeah, I'm still
Hi, JT. I only just started streaming 4 minutes ago, so you haven't missed anything.
Yeah. Loud. Yeah. I. Yeah. I am fatigued. I give it my all with the music. People do not recognize the passion I have for the craft. The effort I'm giving with every line that I write. A ridiculous life is affecting my content. All of this is that was in on my conscience. Insecurities and I am possessing. Why is my depth in a constant obsession? I am reflecting. Think about the life that I chose and the path that a young nigga moving on. And I've been down and out because I was looking for the answer, but never really had no question. Tell me that I'm accepted and getting sick and tired of rejection. I said I can't deal with the nonsense. The pain been constant. I wish I wasn't here for the rest. So I can deal with the
Prepare for battle.
Enjoy your chores, Gavin.
Shit, you will with pen and paint and the second that a nigga picking the pen, I guess it all depends upon the mood and the man and the mind state of which that I write this. Put in my time as I redefine what it means, commended for my dedication. You never related, relaying my pain and the passages, reading on pages, the scripture for sinners, the sentence can save them. I give you the truth and it's never debated, degraded by hatred and giving your ignorant counter deceitful accomplice. The reason my love is abolished. Love, I'm writing a story that you couldn't fathom. Yeah, I'm giving a vision that you can't imagine. Yeah, do I wanna live is the question that I have been asking. All of the pain that I put in my lyrics, I'm wondering can anybody really grasp me, Lord?
Now I'm wondering if this Smurfling is a support because it's a little strange.
You wondering what is my thesis?
Hi, Cole.
You wondering what is my thesis? Why am I lonely when people are phony? I felt like I needed someone to believe in. Tell me that you want the real shit and take a second to listen and you'll feel this. As I reminisce on my self-esteem that would evaporate in my adolescence. Turn introspective, felt so rejected. I should use and this is my newest necklace. I'm a sad to sing from my wildest dreams and I was headed for the valley of the shadow of death. You define as the past with a rhyme to a test for loose and no stress. You were deceiving disciple, the mind from the pew, stain the white flag that you use. The truth is all bets are off, there's no more illusions. And anyone that get a division is confused. And I want a nigga written, I wanted to infuse it. I flows I'm using, niggas are so clueless, blind to all facts and don't know what truth is. I put it on wax and backtrack maneuvers, atrocities that you associated on my phone.
You go, Warren. I'm not gonna get it.
I was hesitating, I am terrified.
Ever been to the CN Tower? No, never been to Ontario. Go there recently?
I am so lonely. I am so lonely. I am so lonely, Lord. I'm writing a story that you couldn't fathom. I'm giving a vision that you can't imagine. Yeah, do I wanna live is the question that I have been asking. All of the pain that I put in my lyrics, I wanna get anybody really grasp me, Lord. Yeah. Attack. You wondering what is my thesis? Yeah. You wondering what is my thesis?
Tonight.
Yeah. You wondering what is my thesis? Why am I lonely when people are phony? I felt like I needed someone to believe in, Lord.
Stand and face me. I fight. I go. Yes.
Okay, man.
What do you say?
Hey, if you slow this guy, I can spin.
Of course. Onward.
They say they know,
Yeah.
but they don't know. They say they know, but they don't know. I come from a small town, but that's okay. I'm on my way, never slow down. I did it my way. Came out the town, hit the highway. Go to town where my heart stay. Went overseas and they riding with me. Smashed the bands out of Norway. 5,000 miles from my own way. That's the old days.
Okay, you die instead. I'm okay with that.
Everything that I went through made me everything that I am. They say life is what happens when you've been busy making other plans. I just learned through doing all that I've done. Living off what I live for and I live for what I love.
Already. To battle. Forward.
Oh, he got the freeze.
As you wish.
Nice job.
Never will you see my. I will not.
Thank you.
forget this.
They say they know,
Yeah, I see.
What do you say?
but they don't know a thing. They say they know, but they don't know a thing.
Thank you.
I know I came a long way. From recording raps in the last night of my driveway. You know I came a long way. From bench for lyrics, spewing out heartache. Nowadays, I'm my family, they don't have a rent. Living in the city, got a new girl.
Where's LC? LC like gave up or some shit.
Got the best team
Okay.
The best dreams got a circle that I trust. Talk to us about making it. But that ain't what it's about. Nah,
Wait, a career?
shape who I am. They say life is what happens when you've been busy making other plans. Went international, walked the passion. Oh, this is good to be alive. Looking out the window on the way home, so much went into that flight. Yeah.
What?
So it's. Dude, I don't even have any more mana for you to take, you dumb shit.
Yeah. I fight. On it.
Big wave, go grab runes, okay? Thanks.
I bring my blade. I bring my blade. Already moving.
Oh shit.
I fight.
Oh my god! You're missing last hit. Alright, LC trade would be enough. So where's Huskar?
What now? Runs.
Where's Huskar, guys?
Death dealer.
Oh, jungle. Jesus. Should probably do something about that.
Look me in the eye.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Not yet. Truth and honor. So you say? As you wish. My thanks.
What a great support.
The enemy's bottom tower has fallen.
Not yet. Your death approaches. Yes. Yeah. As you wish.
I'm gonna walk away from this.
Ah!
So they have 4 cores then.
I go.
Okay. Then this is definitely not a Battle
Your
Fury
top
game.
tower is under attack.
Forward. Agreed.
And we need to fight early. So, Wraith Band. Wand. Okay.
Radiant structures are fortified.
I go.
Wait, so this Invoker's 8 and DP just hit 7? Oh, Jesus.
Cannot hide.
It's not good.
It is not time. As you wish.
Wait, I can kill this guy.
On it.
Oh, he's got phase boots too.
My blade.
Nice job. Yo, let me farm, Pudge. What the
Your middle
fuck?
tower is under attack.
Of course.
Your middle tower is under attack.
I fight. It is not time. A fine idea.
Come on, stop blocking the creeps.
You die. Attack.
It's a duel now.
Agreed.
I would like to go Yasha and then Maelstrom, I think. Nah. I'm gonna get Sunstrike dueled, is the thing.
Swiftly now. It is not time. It's an honor.
Let's kill the rinse.
So you say?
Grab the bottom rinse.
Onward. I'll take that as tribute. Already moving. To battle. Not yet. I am not ready.
He's so fast, you know? I'm gonna shrine top.
On it. I fight. Fresh me. Yes. Not yet.
Okay.
A fine idea. Swiftly now.
The enemy's middle tower has fallen.
It is not time.
Radiant structures are fortified.
So you say? Your death approaches. Forward. I'm under attack.
Wait,
Your
courier.
bottom tower is under attack. Dire's structures are fortified. Your bottom tower is under attack.
What the fuck? This guy's still alive. Go for the LC, you fuck! What the hell?
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Jesus. Nah. Use Soul Ring.
Not
What the fuck are my items? Jesus.
Your middle tower is under attack. The enemy's top tower has fallen.
Hello, Falco.
as you wish.
Radiant structures are fortified.
You die.
Oh wait, am I gonna get my items in time? No! Oh god, it just did.
I go. I bring
That's a close one.
It is not time. Yeah. Cannot hide. One word.
Where is Maelstrom?
Agreed. It's an honor. Already moving. Stand and face me. As you wish.
Oh my god.
The enemy's bottom tower has fallen. The enemy's middle tower has fallen. Your top tower is under attack.
It is not time. I bring my blade.
Your top tower is under
It is
attack.
not time. As you wish. Juggernaut!
Who's that? Pudge? Oh Jesus. Oh shit. Man, looks like Invoker died first. So Pudge got strength.
Attack. My power increases.
Wait on courier.
Slim pig. Death dealer. Swiftly now. I'll take that as
Ah,
tribute.
goodbye, Ward.
Thank you, my beauties.
Very well.
I mean, I'm gonna get dueled and like cataclysmed. It's not gonna be fun.
Yeah. So you say?
What the fuck, man? My courier keeps getting cancelled. See, I've had this Mithril Hammer for a long time. Now I just have the full
Of
Maelstrom.
course. Last. I fight. To battle.
Oh, he got him. Yo.
You are mine. Stand.
Yeah, I think Roshan's
Enemy's
safer.
top tower has fallen.
It's not like we have catapult or anything.
Dealer.
Oh god.
Yes.
Alright.
Last.
The enemy's top tower has fallen.
Your death approaches.
Okay.
It did not take the prophet to see that come.
I think we go back. It's better.
Yeah, you guys back.
Is under attack.
Man, why did I go in with my teammates? Great.
Agreed.
See, I blinked there yet?
Coward runs.
LC is the scariest person to me.
I'm not ready.
How the fuck did he die?
Of course. Not yet. Attack. Attack.
I got wind coming. But
Tower is under
go for
attack.
me.
As you wish.
Dire's structures are fortified.
They fortified.
Radiant structures are fortified.
They don't have glyph.
As you wish. It is not
Your top tower is under attack.
onward. Double damage. On it. I am not ready. Very well. Easy money. I bring my blade.
Here.
Boots of disappointment. I go.
Oh man.
I fight. Look me in the eye. Already knowing. So you say? I'll take that as tribute.
Chuck is in fact one of my least played heroes in Dota.
Illusion.
What does this guy have? Armlet? No boots? Okay.
Swiftly now. It's an honor.
Poor Roshan.
Forward. Yeah. At height.
Your top tower is under attack. Your top tower is under attack.
Stand and face me.
We weren't finished. Your song has fallen to the
Is this a waste of a teleport?
Your top tower is under attack.
Hey, DP, I can heal you.
Has fallen.
Mayday. What coward runs? Death dealer. Very well. I fight. At last. Look me in the eye.
Is under attack.
What the fuck, man? Yo, can we...
Practice comes strength.
Your bottom tower is under attack. The enemy's top barracks has fallen. Your bottom tower is under attack. The enemy's top barracks has fallen.
I another healing word in 10 seconds. I need
I
him.
will not forget this. You are mine. So you say? You are mine.
The enemy's middle tower has fallen.
Death dealer.
Where's my fucking items, man? This team always cancels courier.
The enemy's middle barracks has fallen.
Yeah, so what?
Did you not?
You're dead. Where's my fucking... Hey, stop canceling courier, guys. Jesus. Holy fuck.
The enemy's bottom tower has fallen. Radiant structures are fortified.
I don't want to go to enemy shop and die. And it's the principal!
Enemy's bottom tower.
Stop fucking canceling my courier, bitches.
Enemy's bottom tower has fallen. You now have mech.
Oh shit, oh shit.
Yes.
Oh, you almost got me.
Forward. Stand and face me.
Where'd my healing word go? Oh, it's gone.
I am not ready. What more stand?
Stop defending, you fucks.
I bring my blade. Agreed. Boy, fresh mate! You cannot hide. Run if you can. Not yet. Back.
The enemy's middle tower has fallen. The enemy's middle tower has fallen.
Oh, Sunstrike! Oh!
Dire victory.
Is next game a donation game? It could be. Did you want to make it a donation game, 12?
Victory.
It's my birthday next week. Oh yeah, almost 10,000 tower damage. Job A. Yeah, you know what? This game was a little tryhard. But you know what? I'm starting to see divine players in my games. Core off lane 12? Okay, man. Sure. Oh yeah, the building damage. Wait a minute. This Chikura did 6,800 building damage. That's even more than the death profit. Damn, son. Herald's too easy. I fall asleep, man. Henry, my day's going alright. How's yours? Hello, Blend. GG, guys. You know what happened yesterday, 12? One of our other mods, Snailpoop, he donated for next first game. Anyways. He donated next first game, I queued a game. Then I picked Sven. Totally forgot. Hi, Connie. Hi, we play.
Your turn to battle.
I'm old.
5 seconds remaining. Your turn to pick.
Hey, Mar, I'm doing fine. How about you? Thanks, Tushar. Oh, dude. Viper's banned. Great. Viper and Ursa, 2 of my counters.
5 seconds remaining.
I've been keeping track now. Watch out for the snakes. Watch out for the snakes. Yeah, watch out for the snakes. Watch out for
Thanks, 12. 6.78. 678. Huh. That's an interesting number. Thank you, 12. DK, brought to you by Always 12, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I don't really want to pick DK that early, to be honest. Hopefully another support and maybe your safe lane carry will pick.
Your turn to pick.
Oh, right. Huh.
10 seconds remaining.
Don't make DK pick. Don't make DK pick.
5 seconds
Don't make
remaining.
DK pick. Don't make DK. No, don't. Pick. Pick. No! Ugh. Tomorrow is the start of my final exam for final year at university. After I finish all papers, then I can start playing Dota again. Nice. Get those papers and exams done. Do you ever wonder who stalks your stream just to downvote it in the first 30 minutes of you starting? Those people must be exceptionally cool. Yes.
Your turn to pick.
Exceptionally cool and miserable. Hey, 12, I'm going to be in Vietnam just for a vacation. She went TA against DK? Ugh.
Don't try to come take my possessions, cause you know that I'm way too invested. And I got some big plans in my life, a story like Instagram. Move alone, don't need a middleman, and I handle business. I'm a busy man, made an LLC, now I'm a businessman. If you want to feature, you
playing Dota feels better with academic pressure. I 100% agree. It's kind of like staying in bed past your alarm feels great, right? Or what's another example? Basically doing things you shouldn't be doing. Oh, Sven against DK.
Watching how I move, watching how I move. I've been keeping track now. Watch out for the snakes. Watch out for the snakes, yeah. Watch out for the snakes. Watch out for the snakes, yeah. Watch out for the copying what I do every time. They wanna take what's mine. They busy faking and telling me lies. Now I watch out for the snakes. Watch out for the
Am I up for a 0 kill, 0 assist challenge game? Maybe in an unranked game. For the right price. The right price.
Our shields shall clash.
It's in the bag.
Wormblade cuts deep. Compelled to battle.
1,000 US dollars? Nah, let's go easy on him. 2,000 US dollars. Just joking. Surprise me. 6.78 because I can't work Streamlabs from my phone, and I know YouTube takes part of the donation. That is a noble purpose, always 12. It's fine, man. I trust you. You're my mod. You've been here for a long time. I like you.
Swiftly. I need no steed.
Honestly, if I were an unethical person, extremely unethical person,
Who
one sec.
calls the Dragon Knight?
I could just play Nature's Prophet in a turbo game.
Yes.
And what the fuck, guys? Go home.
Commences.
Oh, he's gonna stun me. Mommy.
Yes.
And then just get teleport to their fountain and then feed, and then everyone's like, oh, fucking this guy.
Protects me. Dragon to the flesh.
Jindural, thanks for subscribing.
This will only hurt a lot.
Dude, that Sand King's body block was so good.
Onward. Forward.
You fucking cunt. Just use that clarity in front of me. Well, luckily for us, this lane is actually pushing now, so. You fucking cunt!
Who calls the Dragon Knight?
Sven's gonna stun you.
Swiftly.
You will make a nice tail angel.
Oh, this guy has like. Oh, he has another stun soon. Well, this lane's pushing. Hey, ET, let's just back off a bit. This lane's pushing. We're not obligated to make any plays.
The dragon waits.
Sometimes you just gotta stand back
Dragon Eye.
and let them ruin the lane themselves.
No. I'll notch your skull.
I don't know what the purpose of that is. Like, you do that, but then what do you do after?
Yes. I need those steeds. We cross swords. Yes.
I did, Mom.
Attack. On.
Oh, yeah.
Bye bye. Dragon.
Oh, man. Why didn't I just run back?
The dragon waits.
Oh, shit. Oh, experience for me.
I need those schemes.
This lane is so dangerous because they have like 3 stuns.
Of slayer. Higher honor.
Things are gonna start going bad for you, Sven.
Dragon to the fray.
You just need some levels, honestly.
Attack. Yes.
Am I willing to go armlet? I am willing, but am I going to? I haven't even thought about it.
Swiftly.
Okay, let's go like let's go like this. Go like this.
Who calls
Okay,
the
like this.
dragon?
Okay. Yeah, I understand.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah.
Bye bye, blade. Yes. I need those skills. Compelled to battle.
Not gonna get that skill, man. Oh, you fucking cunt! Oh, fuck. Runes?
dragon rises from the ashes it has sown. Yes.
Oh, nice. You got him.
Regeneration.
Our shields shall clash. Who calls the dragon? The dragon waits. Dragon to the front. Swiftly.
Let's go like this.
Forward. Dragon out. Onward. Yes. Trembling cuts deep.
I'm lagging. Oh fuck. It's just a catapult, man. I don't give a shit.
By the shield of slain.
Oh my god.
I need those
Fuck off. Jesus.
Do you think your wings would save you?
You know, we're not doing too terribly, all things considered.
Who calls the dragon knight? Already tribute. Dragon charge.
Lena's coming.
Attack. The dragon waits.
Oh, sister.
That's fine.
I kept the
No, that's fine, Lena. You don't have mana.
burning.
Compelled to battle. We cross swords. Of course. Yes. By the honor of the ancients. Who calls the dragon knight?
Radiant structures are fortified.
We don't have any more damage after this.
Dragon to the front. I need no steed. I'm under attack. Compelled to battle.
Run to your right. Never mind. You're dead.
Not yet.
Okay, Lena, I see you.
Regeneration.
Not time yet. I'm not ready. The dragon waits.
No, not Sven.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack.
Thanks for pointing it out, man. Very, very nice. I didn't know that I was 0 and 5.
Transformation.
Honestly, I have 4 assists too, you know? Don't forget about that.
Your middle tower is under
They have a
attack.
triple stun lane. We don't have any stuns. Unless consider Elder 10 shit stun. Honestly, I'm fine with dying.
We cross swords. that.
I can use it, but what's the point?
The dragon waits. Dragon to the fray.
Sorry, sister,
By the honor of the ancients. Yes.
Your middle
Level
tower
sinking.
is under
Okay.
attack.
Higher honor. Forward.
Your top tower is under attack.
Who calls the dragon knight?
Your middle tower has fallen.
By my blade.
Yeah, no, we just don't have any like,
Swiftly.
killing potential. Oh, Jesus Christ.
I need no steed.
Some people are so unreasonable, right, Carl?
Yes.
Lena's here. Okay. These supports have their ultimates. He's over here. Oh man, I don't want to be stuck in Crystal Maiden's ult.
It's not time yet.
Are you not going to beg?
Of course. You fought and died. By the honor of the ancients.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Yes.
Yeah. We have dust.
I need no steed.
Nice.
Who calls the dragon knight? Yes. Of course.
Back, back, back. Don't dive tower.
Swiftly. The dragon waits.
Your top tower is under attack.
Good thing I'm DK.
Yes.
Your top tower
perfect.
is under attack.
Dragon to the fray. It's not time yet.
Oh, Elder Titan.
Forward. Yes, I'm
Your top
under
tower
attack.
is under attack.
Morgo forward. Of course.
What do I need more of this game? I think I go like something like pipe AC. Probably really good. I gotta ask myself if I want farming item though. And 3 of them use blink daggers, so I mean Radiance is good in this game,
The dragon waits.
but I'm not sure that I can even farm Radiance in a good time. Alright. Oh shit.
I'm not ready. By my blade.
Oh my god. I'm so dead.
I join.
It's just basic manners, man. She could think about it this way. If you see a fat person, right? A fat person or an ugly person, you just go up to them
Your
and go like,
top tower is under
hey,
attack.
you're really fat and short and ugly. Oh, you're getting fatter now. Do you say that kind of stuff, man?
Has fallen.
Just basic, you know, social skills, right?
you never.
I can TP to the shrine. Do we want to fight here?
It has so.
Blessings upon a loyal warrior.
I'm coming. I have dust too. Yeah, you don't say it because that's kind of a dick thing to do, right? Are we not gonna help each other?
Your top tower is under attack.
The time zones are stated in the stream description. How do you be a moderator? Well, first of all, you have to have social skills. So you,
Held your feet to the
for the
fire.
time being, you don't qualify.
I need no
And also, you have to have been here for a long time. So, once again,
Your middle tower is under attack.
swiftly. By the shield of Slyla. Dragon's Boat. Attack!
this fucking guy, huh?
Compelled to battle.
Man, why don't they gank the Luna? Jesus Christ.
Onward. Yes.
Coming, coming.
Fly by night.
Oh, let me know a little bit earlier. Jesus. Range.
Attack.
Lena. Oh man, I'm going the wrong way, aren't I?
Yes.
Okay. Man, there's so much fighting. 24 seconds left. Oh yeah, now I come in handy. How do we catch this guy? Oh, what the? Any detection on the supports?
What was that one's name again?
Compelled to battle.
Yeah, I mean, too risky.
Of course. Not yet. Yes.
Radiant structures are fortified.
I need no steed. Forward.
Jesus Christ.
Who calls the dragon? Dragon to the fray. Compelled to battle. I'll knock your skull. Our shields shall clash.
20-minute
Your
runes.
bottom tower is under attack.
I'll take that. Dragon to the fray.
Too slow, Sanking.
I'll take
Your
that.
middle tower is under attack.
Who
I have
calls the
29
dragon?
armor. Is that enough?
Your middle tower.
He's dead. I already grabbed the rune, man. I don't know why you went there. Is he trying to ward or some shit? Guys, I'm debating not getting this blade mail. Okay.
Swiftly.
Well, that tickles. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I like Radiance is actually a great item this game because of the TA, the Sand King. Like a lot of these heroes can be using. Oh no! A lot of these heroes use Blink Dagger, right? Oh shit.
I need no steed. Dragon to the fray.
Good job.
By my blade.
Yeah, maybe we just go Radiance.
Compelled to battle. Into a rage I fly. Soon.
Why are you focusing me, TA? What the fuck's wrong with you? Oh my god. Oh my god, is this a bad fight? Please don't have stun. Oh, I'm dead. No, I have like 20 gold in my relic! Oh.
Invisibility.
Oh, god. Alright, let's go Radiance.
Your top tower is under attack. Dire's structures are fortified. Your top tower has fallen.
Hi, Ivan.
My valor shall be proven this day.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
I think I want to buy eggs. Maybe after AC. Like AC is really important in this game. So I think we're gonna go Radiance, AC, then maybe eggs or some shit.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
It's not time yet. I'm not ready. Can't escape the dragon. Dragon charge. I need no sting. May the Elderwings kill you to rest. I'll nut your skull.
Oh, she doesn't have TP, so she can't deal with me. So Sven and Sand King are the ones alive. Okay.
Your bottom tower has fallen.
You know what? I'm gonna get out. I don't have DK for him. Let's get these rings.
The dragon waits.
350 health. Let's get it.
Swiftly.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Let me get my radiance first, thanks.
Who calls the dragon?
How many matches have I played? All the matches.
By the honor of the ancients.
The enemy's middle tower has fallen.
Onward. Not yet. The dragon.
I'm not so convinced that I even need BKB, guys. Wow, let me get my items.
Compelled to battle. Not time yet. Matters. Death.
God strength and epicenter down.
Death warmed over.
You didn't have to take that fight.
Your middle tower is under attack.
We cross swords.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower has fallen.
Oh man, that blinding light missed.
Yes.
Your top tower is under attack.
Oh no, the sentry.
Dire structures are fortified. Your top tower is under attack.
Yes. I'm not ready. Yes.
Yeah, Roshan's the call.
The dragon wakes. Fly by night.
Radiant structures are fortified. Roshan has fallen to the dung.
I need no steam. Put you out of misery. Who calls the dragon?
Damn it.
Forward.
This guy's kind of poor, huh?
Swiftly.
I need another item. I
Wembley.
think we go AC eggs. And maybe Blink Dagger.
By the shield of
I think I'm not getting BKB unless one of them gets Bloodthorn.
onward.
I'm coming.
Can't outrun a turtle. I'm done. The temple cannot.
Whoa, whoa.
Escape the dragon.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Oh, go ahead.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Oh, Sven doesn't have Blink. Oh, gotta go.
An honorable demise. It's not
Wait, I need AC recipe. Thanks. Anyways, I know some of you guys. I know sometimes you guys see me get stunned, right? Or you see me get hit by like epicenter, right? And you think to yourself, this guy needs BKB. Yeah, maybe in that situation I do, but that doesn't mean that in general I need it. Like, what if I told you I was going pipe and eggs? Would I still need BKB?
The enemy's bottom tower has fallen.
This guy's got, yeah, he's got eggs. I mean, ages still. Yeah, go for DK. Yeah, go for DK. Don't let me die, guys. Where's my AC recipe? Fucking fuck, we're canceling couriers now. We need these creeps. Wait, we need these creeps right here. Oh, you.
The enemy's bottom tower has fallen.
Use him.
The enemy's bottom tower has fallen.
Yo, what? Fucking courier. Jesus Christ. Why is this guy just there? Where'd he go? You want to blink away, TA? You want to blink away? You want to blink away, bro?
I need your steed.
Oh, you're dead too? Where's my AC? I got it.
You fought and died with
Oh shit. I don't want to die with him. Alright. Oh, 42 armor. Oh, so sexy. Yeah, yeah, Coddle, you fucking right click that fucking chart. Hi, Haku. Thanks, Kyle.
Yes.
The enemy's bottom shrine has fallen.
I'll melt this down for armor. Forward. Attack.
How did that not stack? Oh yeah, right, they changed this camp. Right.
Bye bye. Swiftly. Compelled to battle.
You know what's funny, Tundra? That very same person who made that comment asked to be a mod. Holy shit. That's that is some shit.
The dragon waits. The dragon
I'll
waits.
grab bottom banner runes. Maybe you guys can grab top ones.
Compelled to battle. By my blade.
Blessings upon a loyal warrior.
Dragon who calls the dragon knight?
Oh, interesting killing.
Dragon to the fray. Onward.
Oh my god, I feel so powerful now.
Enjoy the raspberries.
Whoa, get back. They're all here.
Need no steam.
Hey, let's take this shrine.
Of course.
You want to go on DK? Oh shit. I can buy back. I have buyback. Coming. Go, 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 go.
Swiftly. The tap of the hourglass. Onward. Can't escape.
Good job.
In strength is victory.
The enemy's middle tower has fallen. Radiant structures are fortified. The enemy's middle tower has fallen. The enemy's middle barracks has fallen.
I think we back when we take Roshan. Safer play. Thanks.
Has fallen.
I'm not ready.
Yeah, and or the shrine. The shrine's good too.
Dragon charge. By my blade.
Whoa, this guy is so ballsy. Fuck.
The enemy's top shrine has fallen. The enemy's top tower
Is Roshan
has
up?
fallen.
I'm not ready. Of course. Yes. Dragon out.
Roshan has fallen to the dark.
Yo, let me finish my eggs real quick.
Dragon to the fray. It's not onward.
4 selves.
Swords.
I'm TPing back to my fucking eggs.
Who calls the dragon scepter? By the honor of the ancients.
Invisibility.
50% more corrosive damage, splash damage slow amount, increased attack range to 600, grants 30% magic resistance. Amazing.
The dragon waits.
Your
Hey
top
Grail,
tower is under
you got some problems with your logic, man. First of all, the rules in your country do not apply to my YouTube live stream.
Yes.
That's some pretty arrogant shit. Hi, Prevind.
By my blade.
That's like what is something illegal?
I need no steed. The dragon waits.
Well, it's a good example, you know?
I'll count your skull. Powers abounding.
I got one creep here. Yeah, that's like saying in my country it's legal to smoke marijuana, so I'm just gonna smoke marijuana here. in Indonesia or some shit like that. That's not how it works. Fucking arrogant.
Dragons flow.
What are we waiting for? He's waiting for his thing. Luna wants his satanic.
Yes. Who calls the Dragon Knight?
I didn't say Indonesia was shit. You can rewind it and listen to it again if you want.
Yes. Attack.
How do you think that will stop me from banning you, huh?
Forward.
So you think that because you're watching the YouTube stream in your country, therefore we don't have the power to ban you? Watch this.
Our shields shall crash.
See, look, you just got banned. You see it? You see, that is power.
The dragon.
You have no power. I'm gonna unban you.
Of course.
But don't act so arrogant. Why don't we just run at top?
No speed. Swiftly. Yes. Wormblade cuts deep. I soar higher.
Oh, I have 57 armor now. Yeah, go on me. Go on, DK. Go ahead. See, your fucking shit does anything at all to me.
Radiant structures are fortified. Your bottom tower is under attack. The enemy's top tower, your bottom tower has fallen. The enemy's top barracks has fallen. You now have negative charge. Your bottom tower is under attack. Your bottom tower is under attack.
Oh, they have a spear vessel. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Oh, thanks, man. Oops. Oh, man, I used Soul Ring for nothing.
Compelled to battle.
The enemy's middle tower has fallen. The enemy's middle tower has
GG goes. Thanks, Kyle. Glad you like the DK game, 12. Yeah. MVP. This guy's really whiny. Don't like him. Wonder how much damage I took, guys. Let's have a look. Raw damage received 76,000. Oh yeah. Luna MVP? For what? Shit buildings, I suppose. Actually, my GPM's quite high, huh? 600 GPM. Even after going 0 and 5, am I right? GG, guys. GG. What percentage am I at now? 17? Is this ancient one day? I have to leave in 2 hours, so probably not. How do you buy quick item? How do you buy items from quick buy without clicking them? Well, Underdog, do you understand what quick buy means? You literally press the quick buy button, and that is it. To buy items with quick buy, you press the button. Where is it? It's a literal hotkey, man. Like right here. Look. It's right here. Purchase quick buy. My button is 5. So you just press the button on the keyboard. Well, you know, Sheikah, Tantra has a point. It's funny that you're like, wow, dude, you're 04. Look, now you're 05, and then you ask to be a mod. That's really ironic.
5 seconds remaining.
English only thinks.
Your turn to pick.
If you don't see why that's ironic, then you're really, really,
10
really
seconds
dense.
Remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
Yeah, I'm glad you watch me and enjoy watching me play Dota. Right, okay. Anti-mage. You're not banned if you see your messages in the chat. And if you don't understand Sheikah, that's because you're really dense. Dense means slow. It means... How do I say this? You're stupid. God damn it, guys.
Your turn.
I'm gonna play offlane, guys. Again. Alright. Who's a good offlaner?
Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
Okay, I'm not gonna bother with this guy. He's just too stupid, guys.
Your turn.
Who said it the other day? Oh yeah, one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my stream of 3 or 4 years now, streaming almost every day. I think the other day someone tried to convince me that wards are bad. I think they said that wards don't do damage or something like that. They don't make you more powerful, so wards are actually a waste of money. That's what they said. And you might think that they're trolling me. Oh, Bluespan, they don't actually believe that. But I'm pretty sure they did. What am I playing? And this guy, he's getting pretty close to that level of stupidity.
Everything I used to dream being real right now. If it wasn't working, I'ma work it out, yeah. I keep on going till the lights go down, yeah.
Yeah, I just... just too fucking stupid.
Your turn to pick.
Everybody wanna make millions, but not everybody been working.
Yep, you're stupid as fuck.
But not everybody been searching.
Look, see, I tagged you. I tagged you.
Everybody knows, always been keeping it real. Every time that I spit in the flow, I've been going to get it, they not gonna forget it. I've been going up, they've been staying afloat. My music been personal, telling my stories. I'm telling the truth and my life been exposed. Talking to fans that we in it together. I'm never gonna turn even under the
Yes, Namdota, I understand all the benefits of wards. Okay. Okay, I see where you're going with this. Good job. Hey Septiar, say hello to Canada, please. Thanks. You want me to restart the song, Devraj? This one? Sure, man. Restarting.
Time. It is
No
in
epic
the
fail today,
bag.
my friends. 'Tis brilliantly clear that this one is in the bag.
No escape. My brain.
Oh, noob, start Quelling Blade.
Your atrocity.
You heard me. This guy's a fucking noob. Anyone who buys Quelling Blade first, noob.
Amphibious assault.
History has shown me your listening skills are terrible, by the way.
The time.
30 seconds.
Oh, it's me and this person again.
I'm under attack. Forward.
Oh shit.
I serve.
Oh shit, I'm dead. Oh fuck.
First victim.
This looks awfully familiar to last game.
Was but a shallow sleep.
The battle begins.
The hunt begins.
Yeah, there's a lot of stupid people. I'm okay with stupid people, but I'm not okay with rude people. You know, stupid people, it's not their fault that they're stupid, right? Their mama just
By
just
the moon.
gave birth to them that way, or their mom didn't teach them things. You know what I mean?
Good path.
Whereas like rude people, mama also didn't teach them, but it's not only that. They're just unpleasant to deal with, you know? So these.
You swim against the tide.
Oh man, pushing my lane. Hey, let's reduce the lane pushing just a little bit.
I go. A tiny sum.
Oh shit!
Running won't help.
No! Fuck.
Radiant's courier has
Oh, he got it!
On the
Nice. Hey man.
hunt. A good path.
first.
To battle.
One more click. Nice.
I surge. I'm hungry enough to eat a plankton. On the hunt. The tide moves. By the moon.
Come on, Spirit. I know you want to roll on me. Oh shit! Oh my god! Lion dodged it.
Eight north and full ahead.
How?
I go. Agreed. Chums in the water.
Fuck, this coddle keeps sticking my last hits.
Tide moves.
OPA! I just want to talk. We need to talk.
By the moon.
We need to talk.
I surge.
Earth Spirit teleporting top, I think. You have wand? Yeah, you do.
I could
Do you want experience, man?
you down. A good path.
Doesn't matter. Lion doesn't phase me.
To battle.
Your top tower is under attack.
How much mana does he have? Okay, this is getting a little bit too ambitious.
On the hunt.
My farm!
I go.
I'm gonna die.
Surge.
Death at my hands is an honor.
Here, let me get rid of the stupidity in this channel.
I rise again from the deeps.
Let's go. This item. This item. This item. This item.
You
Ugh.
can't hide. You can't hide from the tide. I go.
Yep.
I hunt you down. By the moon.
Grab runes, Cuddle.
A good lad.
We just
I could eat a krill. I hunt.
My HP even going down? Thanks, man.
The tide. My prey. A good
Fuck. By the way, even though I'm dying, actually, I'm still winning this lane by a lot.
in with the tide.
Let's go with this. Let's do these. I cannot use stick if I'm stunned.
I serve. The tide.
Stout shield is fucking retarded item on Tidehunter.
On the hunt.
Oh my god. Someone just told me to buy stout shield.
By the moon.
Wow. That person does not understand how Tidehunter works at all.
Now. I could eat an anchovy. I
Stout shield, man. See you later. Easy tower.
Can you show respect to Rio's career? Don't use that, please.
I serve.
Radiant structures
Respect.
are fortified.
Running won't help.
Yes, I get it. I fucking get it, man.
To battle. Forward.
Let's get arcane boots.
Agreed.
Dire's structures are fortified.
Path. The tide. Move. By the moon. I go.
Radiant structures are fortified.
No, I don't want to dive this. Oh shit. Come on, dive me, bro. Dive me! Oh yeah, that was a total victory for us.
Was but a shallow sleep.
Let's see, magical damage, magical damage, magical damage, magical damage, physical damage. Okay. Alright. Gotcha.
You swim against the tide.
7 Viper. Oh, I'm stacking for Viper, huh? That's not good.
On the hunt.
That guy's dead. Motherfuck!
Regeneration. By the moon.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Dash on the rocks. A good path. Cast upon the tides.
How do you think I can save you, idiot? Yeah, explain to me, huh? Yeah, so what? You see this tower's gone? Does it look like PA has farm? Fucking retard. Shut the fuck up. Idiot.
On the hunt. A good bag. The tide moves. Forward. Chums in the water.
Oh. Who's he gonna blame this time?
I surge. You can't hide.
The enemy's middle tower has been denied.
To battle. By the moon.
Invisibility.
Hey Kunka, when you died earlier, whose fault was that?
Yours.
Yeah, that's what I fucking thought.
On the hunt. No escape.
Someone go top.
So Anti-Mage is a Battle Fury? Oh my goodness, he's fucking farmed his shit. Does PA have Battle Fury? Wonder how that happened.
You can't hide from the tide. To battle.
Yeah, I'm okay, I think.
Agreed.
Does Lion have finger?
I serve. A good path. The tide moves. Take. The tide moves.
Let's buy this item.
You can't hide from the tide. Running won't help. Forward. I go. Amphibious assault.
Your top tower is under attack. Dire structures are fortified.
Oh, I see another ban.
Is under attack.
I serve. It's not time. A good path.
I'm walking over with Ravage.
Is under attack.
Never mind.
Man never steps into the same sea twice.
Double kill. On the hunt. My prey. To battle. I could eat a knot. I hunt you down.
Hey, Antimates, I have Ravage. Three for one? I hope this guy dies.
Your top tower is under attack.
Look what the tide washed in.
Should I even bother with this guy? Yeah, let's go help this guy.
I hunt. The tide moves. Agreed.
Holy fucking shit. This item.
By the moon. On the hunt.
Okay, man. No, he already used Sunstrike. I'm good.
Radiant structures are
Nice.
Chums in the water.
Not even mech. Couldn't grease. What the fuck?
Your middle tower is under attack.
Oh shit. Oh, I want that tower. Is it worth dying for?
The enemy's top tower is falling.
Oh, why didn't I use Hood? I'm an idiot. I can use Hood and Wand there and then TP.
Please, why use career? Please, respect, please.
I wonder who it's been. This person's been in my game in the last 3 games. And I've had a lot of career cancels. Oh shit! Sunstrike. That's not very good. Holy shit.
The tide moves. You can't hide.
Desolator now. I need a little bit more armor.
Can you TP, Kung-Kong? Can you TP?
Yes, TP would be great.
No one even want TP.
Your top tower is under attack. Your top tower has fallen.
Tis mine.
Oh, oh man. Help me! Help! I'm dead. Oh man, what is going on?
Your top tower is under attack.
To the deeps with you.
That's quite the prediction, Kyle. You know, as Tide doesn't really get kills, he's like a team fighter. Honestly, we need to play around anti-mage or anything. I appreciate your optimism, Kyle.
On the hunt. Agreed.
Your middle tower is under attack. Dire's structures are fortified. Your middle tower is under attack.
Asleep?
Your bottom tower is under attack.
With the fishes. To hell with you. Dominating.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Whatever,
Your bottom
man.
tower is under attack. Your bottom tower has fallen.
I'm probably gonna get a BKB for the record. I can't deal with Viper's Nether Toxin and Invoker shit and Lion shit and Earth Spirit shit. Even with this HUD, I can't deal with it. I'm buying BKB after these screws.
Your bottom tower is under attack. Your bottom tower has fallen.
Your son.
Hey, don't anti-mage is routing.
I'm so hungry. I could eat up. I serve. You swim against the tide. Transfigures once again.
Oh, hey, Snail Poop. Thanks, buddy.
On the hunt.
Yeah, I still owe you next first game, Snail Poop.
I could hear time moves. A good
Your middle tower is under attack. Dire's structures are fortified.
agreed.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Careful, we don't have half the team here.
By the moon.
Yeah, they care bottom. Oh god, I don't want to fight this dude. Yeah, like I said, we don't have half the team here.
Wow. Running won't help.
The enemy's middle tower has fallen.
The tide moves. By the moon.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Okay, let's give this guy
Your
some
middle
mana.
tower has fallen.
On the hunt.
And what was I doing?
Agreed. To battle. To tide me over. I surge.
Holy fuck, this guy's so deep. I suppose he's got a blink dagger though. Blink dagger, necro book.
I go.
What the fuck? Who keeps canceling courier?
On the hunt.
Oh my god.
To battle.
Maybe I just get forced to. I see the Viper, but I'm not sure I want to take that fight.
I'm under attack.
Oh, like you and I do not have damage beam. It's not a good decision.
Agreed.
Why you guys go bottom? I told you go low.
I was going towards Roshan, and Bane started using his ultimate on Viper.
The enemy's bottom tower has fallen.
The tide moves.
Well,
Only
let's go
people
to
with
spot.
20 hours of watch time can use sound effects, and just because you can doesn't mean you should. Let me die, just let me die.
The phantom strikes. The enemy's top tower has fallen.
Thanks, Snail Poop. Yeah, Alex is here the whole time, Snail Poop.
I surge. To battle. By the moon.
30-minute runes.
Agreed.
I need to buy some kind of item.
Tide moves.
Tis mine.
On the hunt. I surge. Gold for me.
My HP hit 0. That's how I die. I should not be here. Hey, avoid team fight. We had to wait for anti-mage to split them up. That's the only way we can beat them. Especially with Aegis. Thanks.
Your middle tower is under attack.
What the fuck is going on?
Your middle tower is under attack.
Here, okay, they TP back, then we fight them, but only if PA's not there. Watch the TPs, watch the TPs. Just wait, just wait. Get back, PA, BKB. Thanks.
The enemy's bottom tower.
You don't have to fight, just wait for anti-mage. Wait them to TP. They have vision up this hill. It's fine, anti-mage is ratting.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower.
Stop their TPs if you can. But don't die for it.
Your middle barracks are under attack.
Shut up. Keep going, anti-mage. I think Invoker might. Never mind. Nope. Yeah, they might start TPing. They're still here. The Lion is TPing. It's just Lion so far. PA still here. Viper is still here. PA is TPing back.
I travel light.
I go. Chunks in the water.
You're doing fine. He's just a whiny bitch.
By the moon. Forward.
Okay.
To battle. Mega kill. I surge.
The enemy's bottom shrine has fallen.
Down. A good path.
Yeah, gaming YouTube is supposed to be dead for the app. It's supposed to be dead. There's a deity here.
On the hunt. Swim against the tide.
Radiant's courier has been killed.
Can we save this Kunkka? No detection?
I'm not ready.
He's 25? Oh, Jesus. I'm not buying fucking Shadowblade. Oh my god, Shadowblade is only invincibility and Herald bracket.
I surge.
Let's go Roche. Let's go Roche.
Okay.
Bounty.
The enemy's top shrine has fallen.
I don't think it's up, right? Yeah, it's not.
I go. By the moon. A good path.
If this was turbo, I wouldn't be level 17.
You swim against the tide. I surge. By the moon. Time moves. To battle. Forward. I hunt. Chums in the water. My prey. To tide me over. On the hunt. Amphibious assault. I hunt you down. Agreed. I'm not ready. You.
Okay, I have AC.
A good path. Assault cuirass.
Roshan's up. Wait, never mind.
Illusion. A good path.
38. Roshan should be up within 10 seconds. Okay, there it is.
By the moon.
Hey, we're doing Roshan. Can you guys back it off?
Don't fight.
Oh shit, anti-mage is low now too. Just wait, okay? Just wait.
To battle. On the hunt.
Hey, don't fight me and anti-mage and Roshan. I don't know. Listening comprehension is so hard.
No escape.
Yeah. You have to do this quick.
Your shrine has fallen to the dark.
Get out, anti-mage. Get out. Just... I'm dead. Anti-mage, like, oh god. Was he rooted there? Actually, this Coddle is so smart.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
All ships safe from
Dire
stern to
structures
scupper.
are fortified.
Holy shit. Who died just now?
For thy lack.
I'm coming. Volker's coming in. Care. Fucking nether toxin, dude. I have Ravage. Oh yeah, good job.
Amphibious assault.
If PA is over here, then he can't be at his base. If we see PA here, yeah, PA is right there. He can't go back to base.
I could eat a blue
No.
whale.
Yeah, PA is stuck up there. I think. Because he bought back earlier. Let's get the buildings, anti-mage.
Is under attack. Radiant structures are
Never mind, PA's here. Hey, Bane, don't die to PA. Oh shit, dude. What the? Oh man, I just... Hey, you don't have mana, you should get back. Leave Bane. Coddle, you can get out too. Yeah, anti-mage can't die.
Haste!
Don't they have the Yules?
Your top shrine is under attack.
Oh, this guy's dead. Well played.
It's under attack.
I rise again from the deeps.
Your top tower has fallen.
No peace until I satisfy my
Hey, Invoker can use you, okay?
A good path.
Yo, let anti-mage rat. Let anti-mage rat, okay? They're backing off. They might be TPing. Oh shit. Oh my god. Whew. And buyback though, so. That was real on.
The enemy's top tower has fallen.
They're all TPing back, dude. Care. They're all back. They're all back.
To battle.
Oof.
I surge.
Was the tower already gone? Did we manage to take that?
Agreed. On the
Hey, hey Lulu, what's Roshan time?
by the moon. It's not a good path.
Anti-mage is Lincoln's now, okay?
To battle. By the moon.
Oh shit. Anti-mage is buyback in a minute and a half. Get out, get out, get out, okay? Bane, get out.
On the hunt. The tide moves.
Actually, does he even have money? Yeah, he does. Did he use Abyssal? He used Abyssal, right?
Agreed.
You know, honestly, it's okay to lose one barrack. Or maybe not two, though. Here, like, let's kill the Invoker. The Invoker is way easier than PA.
Your top tower has fallen.
Hey, Bane. He has Lincoln's, okay? Bane.
Your bottom tower has fallen. Your bottom barracks are under attack. Your bottom barracks has fallen. Your bottom barracks are under attack. Your bottom barracks are under attack.
How many daggers am I holding now?
Your bottom barracks has fallen.
Hey, Anti-Mage, here, your buyback now.
Dire structures are fortified.
I'm under attack.
Where's Anti-Mage? Oh. Go, 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 go! Oh my god, he missed it! That's so sad, dude.
Your middle tower
PA's back
is
here.
under attack.
Uh-oh.
Belay that last order.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower has fallen.
That.
Can I have words, please? I can't fucking see.
All your supports are dead, man. Hello, Arvo.
Your middle tower has fallen.
See you later, Kyle.
Your ancient is under attack.
My skin breathes again.
Your shrine has fallen to the radiant forever.
Alright, I'll carry it. Lulu, he's referring to the anti-mage, I think.
On the hunt. To battle.
I won't get out within 5 minutes. What does that even mean? Oh, he's going deep.
Your bottom shrine is under attack.
They're all up there.
By the moon.
Your bottom shrine is under attack.
I surge.
No, don't initiate on Viper. Anti-mage has had Monkey King bar for like 20 minutes, man.
Your ancient is under attack.
Okay. That doesn't do much, man.
No nearer to my goal than before, but with greater resolve.
Your ancient is under attack.
GG. Damn, what a hard game. GG, guys. Oh, you know, actually that PA did fantastic. Hey everybody, does anyone know the counter to Blade Mail? I'm gonna tell you guys, the counter to Blade Mail is very, 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 very simple. Does anyone know the counter to Blade Mail? Go ahead, go ahead. There you go. Just don't attack the Blade Mail guy. That's so hard.
Open to closed, everything I wanted, I got it. Always wanted more, so I'll never be stopping. Everyone asking when a new drop in. Pressure been building, but it's a good problem. Graduated college and now I got options. Always bringing more on these rappers, take caution. Always been bossing, everybody watching. Love every fan, just know you're not forgotten. No, everything I used to dream being real right now, now.
Oh, it's the Kunkka again. Fuck. Damn it. There's whiny and toxic, man.
To ban. 5 seconds remaining. Your turn.
You know what else? Stop PA from killing me? Ghost Scepter, Force Staff, Glimmer Cape, 2 Hearts, Shivas, Eon Disc, Solar Crest.
10 seconds remaining.
I'm not gonna fucking buy Blade Mail for PA. I don't really care about him.
Remaining.
I think I'd like to try Support Weaver again, Chris. Oh yeah, no, I have to play Necrophos, huh? Hey Purple, you playing core? Hi Daryl. Yeah, that's an excellent question. Is Snail Poop even here?
Your turn to pick.
Level 16 badge. Who has level 16 badge? It's not me, right? And yes, Silver Edged Counter Alchemist. Oh man, some of you guys.
10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Your turn to pick.
Oh fuck, Snail Poop. I just picked my hero. Oh. I'm playing Support Weaver. 5 Weaver. Relax. Relax. Hey Raphael, okay, the blue span bot is gonna say something, okay? And I want you to read what it says. You see that paragraph that the blue span bot just said? There you go. Can you just read that?
Your turn to pick. Your turn to pick.
Why am I playing Support Weaver? Alright. Oh, well, first of all, someone else already wants to play off lane. And second of all, the biggest reason why I want to play Support Weaver is because I want to! I support EG for TI. Come on, man, I'm from Canada. Alright. Oops. You get a ward. And you get a ward. You get a tango. Vinny, I just answered this question. You know, Raphael, like item builds are just like ice cream, okay? Some people like chocolate ice cream. Some people like vanilla ice cream. You can justify basically any fucking item you want. You could be like, hey, why not buy Vlad so that the team right clicks and gets HP? Why not buy Solar Crest so you can empower the anti-mage? Why not buy Yule so that you can dodge Viper Strike or something like that? Why not buy Desolator so that you can one-shot creep waves? Why not buy Satanic so you can be more tanky? Why not buy Ocarine Core so you could use Gush and Anchor Smash more often? Why not buy Midas so you can hit 25 and have more farm earlier? Why not buy Boots of Travel so that you can run around TPing more often? You know, like you can justify anything you want for any reason, almost. Why not buy Force Staff so you can dodge Meatball? And EMP and Tornado.
The threads of fate are mine to
You feel me? You can buy anything you want.
Scatterling in.
Prepare for battle.
I'm leaning against Earthshaker LC. Earthshaker LC.
It's in the
Okay.
bag.
So yeah, I mean, you can fucking justify anything, you know? Why not finish pipe so that your whole team has magical damage shields, right? Why not buy Dagon so you can combo with anti-mage to finish somebody off? Why not buy Crimson Guard so your team has some block, right? Glad we understand each other, Raphael. And thank you for listening. Why I can't buy anything I want? I suck at last hitting. Tangos for poopy.
30 seconds to battle.
Why can't you buy anything you want? Buy you diamond ring, my friend, if it makes you feel alright.
Alright, Mark.
I'll give you anything, my friend, if it makes you feel alright.
You are most gracious. 'Tis in the bag.
Yes.
There's three. There's three.
The battle begins.
What the fuck? There's nobody here.
Let's weave a battle.
Why did I even scoot you?
Creep and crawl. Bitter pattern.
Can't last hit. Get good, snail poop.
I like your style, Weaver.
Oh yeah? I'm a homosexual.
I like your fucking style.
You like that?
Can't say I'm in love with it. Doesn't take away from
You don't
your
have to be
style,
love. We can be friends first. I'm not sure I want to be here. I don't think anything's gonna happen. Or is it? Oh man, I don't fucking know shit.
The range creep.
Oh fuck. Tiny's not gonna use courier, man. I'm wasting my time. But I could gank him with my shitty Scoochie. Oh my god, he's actually gonna... Oh dude, my patience paid off. Got it. Got it! Thank you. Oh, this is the Kunker from last game, saying positive things. Is this really happening?
Yes.
Just raw intimidation. No, we can't kill. Just fucking with the guy's head.
Did he see me from over here? Why did I just eat a tango? Oh, I know why I ate the tango.
Smoke weed every day. Rule of double damage.
Snip, snip.
If stunned, I can hook him under tower. Go whenever you're ready.
Yes.
Nah, oh, he has sentry there, dude. Action runes top. Was top. Maybe.
Yes.
Actually, let's stack this real quick.
I'm chilling. Yeah, I'm fine. The real one? Stun him? Stun him? Stun him, I can hook him under tower.
Oh, cow. Oh, I see you. I see you again.
Oh, that fucking killed me. Anything from base?
Yes.
I need some experience. Thanks.
Creep and crawl.
Coming mid smoke. Did you ever get the D ward?
Cut and weave.
What the fuck?
Shuttle off.
You better TP, bro.
Whatever, I'll just fuck with him.
See you later.
You got top rune.
I loom.
Tiny has a bottle, so probably shouldn't let him get it.
Alright, Patch, I see you.
Yes.
I think he sees me too.
Yeah.
Yes. Scuttling in.
Hey, Patch, are you buying Urn?
I can if you don't want to.
I don't really.
Kill this guy. Let's go.
Okay, let's go, Joe.
I must. Yes.
That's why they call me the...
Nice.
Rude.
Yes.
Yo, I want to buy a bottle, I think.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Don't grab the rune, okay? Bye-bye bottle.
I won't. Oh fuck, shaker.
Never mind, he got everything. I've decided I'm not buying bottle anymore.
That might be good. You have such a low HP.
Deceptive rune of invisibility.
We can kill a game once I have bugs. And if he gets away from that tower.
Found a shaker.
Creep.
I have 6 stick.
Earthshaker kill, Earthshaker please. Except for you, Pudge. You don't have to follow.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. Dude, he's gonna overwhelming odds you.
Yeah. I just want the flesh heap.
Easy. Oh man, I have 1,000 gold now.
Midas, I believe.
Oh, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna sell these warts then.
Do it. Just greed for the Midas. It's not. And then we'll play support afterwards. I'll help you get wards and shit later.
Alright. You're gonna take
then...
responsibility for what you just said, right?
Yeah, I'll buy wards till I get
Oh,
your
what a
Midas.
man. I like you. I like your style.
Into the fray. Shuttle off.
Piers. Straw gets up here. Shakira.
See you later, friends. He wants me. He wants me. He's angry.
Now that you're dead, I find it easy.
Oh, almost hit me.
What the fuck is this guy doing? We
Oh,
killed him
I
too.
will definitely TP mid.
Your top tower is under
Rainbow
attack.
fucking TPs. Alright. Nice.
Oh, snap. I am compelled.
Oh, he has haste. No wonder he tried to kill me.
Yes.
You and me, we were gonna kill the fucking
No, he has
Tiny.
haste. No, don't even show. Don't even show. He has haste.
Oh, he's haste?
Yeah.
It's scary.
Out of time's weave. Cut you down.
You're right, he does. This is impossible.
Yep.
Maybe with chains. Think with.
Oh, wow. What a fucking calculated play.
Respawned. It's not time yet.
Yeah, one combo and I'm die.
Did they just throw an AA on you? The fuck?
Swarm them. Rend you.
Oh fuck, he's getting that D ward.
A big threadbare.
attack speed increased by
No.
44. That's so much.
Is this the real one? No, not the real one's back. That one, sorry. I think it's that one.
Alright, I almost have
God's strength.
Midas.
I think we. Oh, you don't have God's strength. Oh, you're only level 5.
Honey has invisibility bottled.
Cut and weave.
I don't think we can kill this guy. We could try though.
Oh.
This guy's an idiot, dude. What the fuck?
Oh, he has. I think he has vision.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Skitter on.
Hold on, I gotta buy my items.
Yes.
Grabbing bottom runes.
Shuttle off.
What the? Where's the
Okay,
creep?
Cam too low.
Did I
He
block
just
that?
Burst me.
A golden thread.
You stun him? Stun him, please stun him. No, the gust.
Shuttle off.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
I think I died a toss. Yeah, I knew it.
The flames rush forth.
You gotta stand closer on Sven. So I don't get tossed like that.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
I must. Yes.
Oh, I think they have sentry here.
Skitter on.
Can I kill this guy?
Yes.
Oh, sentry! Hook me! Hook me! Where?
Have a good show.
3 bot.
They have a sentry.
Do they?
Yes.
I gotta wait to deward it. I just can't instantly do it.
Yes.
You can build like a solar crest or something, like something that you could still right click people with. Yeah, that's good.
Hey, I'm
too.
coming top. I'm coming up. Almost there.
It was worth it.
A tighter
Your
weave.
middle tower is under attack.
Bitter pattern.
Did I not hit this fucking AA with my bugs?
Rend you. Your fate is mine.
Okay. Is he invisible?
Yes.
I'm gonna get a pipe. I think, unless Sven. What was Sven building? He has one already. Fuck. PL is bottom.
Creep and crawl.
We can kill this guy.
If I get the real one, we could probably kill, but we might walk here. He might walk here. He
Your
saw me.
middle tower is under attack.
Got him.
I got the real one here.
I need some mana.
Your middle tower is under attack.
What a fucking idiot, dude. Jesus.
Attack.
I'm debating what items to get, guys. Still debating.
Ember or Shaker coming.
That can't be real, right? Can't be real, right, guys? LCTP top tier 1.
Yes.
Hmm?
Strike.
There's a Tony coming to you guys.
Ah shit! Ah shit!
Nice try.
He's like one hit from dying, guys. Oh, this looks familiar.
Tower is under attack. Your bottom tower is under attack. Radiant structures are fortified. Your bottom tower is under attack.
Easy, dateless, Lotus, Divine Rapier game? Oh, what am I thinking then? I'm gonna sit here and wait until I have enough money for this wand. And we will have enough money right about now.
Yes.
Wink.
A golden thread.
Sucker. See you later. Oh shit. Yeah, you think you can kill me? I'm just gonna time walk. See you later. Fuck, man.
Waste nothing.
You don't have to buy all the wards, Weaver, but can you help me with some? I want to get a 4-step.
I will buy a single word.
Cut you down.
Oh, Tiny's coming down to kill me.
Fuck, I'm dead. He echoed? What the fuck?
Does Tiny have Blink Dagger?
He's no echo. He's no echo. Kill these fuckers.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Got Brown Boots Maelstrom.
Your middle
This game's
tower
looking
is
pretty
under
fucking
attack.
difficult. I think this is an Ags game.
Your middle tower has been denied.
Yep, Tiny's got Blink Dagger. I think he's got Blink Dagger.
I'll avoid any further entanglements.
I mean, your build on Ember is shockingly bad. I think you need to...
Oh man, Ags is so good.
On Ember, there's a PL with Diffusal. He's never gonna have mana. He has Brown Boots. No drums, no veil.
Maybe he'll never get hit.
He's not can't. Even so, he doesn't have mana to do anything.
There's no remnant cost when you have Ags. Yeah, it's pretty good.
I don't know. I'm a mid player. I play a lot of Ember. That's not how you play Ember.
Have you tried it?
At least maybe.
I know what you're thinking, but have you tried
I
Eggs?
say. I haven't.
I'll keep some around for data.
Should probably buy a TP scroll.
Yes.
Need your Quelling Blade Ember, probably. Draw. You can take your wards and place them just close to 4-step.
No, 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 no! Not this time, motherfucker.
I am compelled.
Not this time.
Oh, titties.
Yes.
If I hook this guy, can we kill him? Probably not, right? Oh shit, PL.
There's a PL over here. It's legit.
Coming, he's alone. Oh, hey, hey, on me. I guess I'll just come back for this PL.
Yeah, that's, I
not the
think it's
real.
this
Is it the
one.
real?
I think it's the real one. Yeah.
Oh, it is. Yeah. I got the real one. I got the real one.
Are you sure?
What the fuck? think you might have this. Can you proc this fucking... Kill them all, kill them all, kill them all.
Yes, ma'am.
Do it.
I'm gonna kill him.
Gemini.
I'm gonna kill him.
I'm not ready.
Maybe I should have got the mana break. I mean, I am going right clicker, but I don't know. 14 strength is a lot. It helped me survive Tiny. Tiny and Earthshaker. And LC.
Bitter pattern.
Yeah, maybe the strength is better.
Well, the good news is we have 4 cores, so that's solid.
Hey, I bought a sentry for you out of sympathy, Pudge.
You're gonna go on me, Ember, if you don't show. Alright, never mind. I didn't want you to show, brother.
Cut and weave.
I denied myself, it's fine.
A golden thread.
Am I the highest level in this game? Oh, by far, motherfucker. By far. No one's even 15, 16. Don't worry, guys. I'm almost level 20.
What the fuck?
I know, right?
XP gain.
It was your Midas idea. All credit goes to you.
I mean, you're gonna be scary, like, very soon. I mean, you're
Oh
already
shit!
scary.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
Oh my god.
Skitteron.
You're so strong, actually. You're so fucking strong.
Yes, I am.
I'm coming on Tiny. Watch Tiny is.
No! Ah, fuck!
Almost.
Oh, get him, bug!
Oh.
I'm so glad I got the strength. I'm on level 20. Hey guys, get on my level.
Literally. Is it?
Should I just go more right click? Nah, let's go eggs. Nah, let's actually contribute meaningfully to the team.
I'm running. I'm a fat man though.
The enemy's middle tower has fallen.
Ah, you're dead.
Casual bloodstone. Why would I want
Shocking that
bloodstone?
you don't have mana. Hero's too mana dependent not to build 1 mana item. Guess I'll believe in the eggs build though. We kill this?
You want to kill the double damage rune?
What came undone.
PL that's farming our jungle.
Bitter pattern.
Into Roche. The
I'll go
fuck?
top.
A big threadbare.
I'm gonna take this DD. I hooked it. It's just sitting here. Oh, titties, I'm dead.
I think you're dead.
Yes.
Fine. I'm not dead. Dead.
And you.
Shadow Blade, Tiny, there's 4 heroes there.
Do you think they're coming towards me?
Run. Legion's bottom.
Enemy's top tower has fallen.
I am compelled.
We're almost strong, lads. Almost.
I almost have eggs.
So does Drow, so... As that happens, we... Use your spell!
Your middle tower is under attack. Radiant structures are fortified. Your middle tower is under attack.
I'm pretty salty I let Ember go mid, to be honest.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower has fallen.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Echo down.
I don't have hook, I don't have hook.
Where'd he go? He was dead,
down
right?
the whole time. Where the fuck did he go?
Into the fray.
Nice. Hey, go Roshan. I have bugs. Go Roshan. They don't have echo. Go Roshan. Go, 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 go. Come on, Drow. Get your ass over here.
I have a single sentry ward. The sentry ward has to be a sentry ward that changes the game. Shadowblade tiny better than so.
Easy. Wait, what the
fuck?
Grab the Aegis.
Not yet.
He's gone.
I loom.
I'm gonna shrine top.
Never repeat school.
Cutting weave. Ah, scepter. Shuttle off.
Go look for someone.
Scuttling in.
If I was PL, I'd be farming here.
Slash.
PL's farming here. Can almost guarantee.
Is that a fact or opinion?
Opinion. Smoke's gonna pop and I'm gonna be sad.
I'm
Never
shoving
mind,
the
he's
lane.
mid. Someone has the team.
So I can save any of you guys with eggs.
Shit.
I'm not sure if I saved you right.
That's fine.
Yes.
Not sure if saved or killed.
I am compelled. Yes. Snip, snip. A golden bread. Creep at a feast.
You're not actually taking mid, is he? I can save you. Oh fuck! Why didn't I use my ult? Oh man, I pressed the 1 button, but I didn't press the ult button. Fucking noob ember. I can play Pudge. I can play Pudge.
And they're hard of hearing. Aye, aye. Hit now.
The enemy's bottom tower has been denied.
You got it. Ominous, that is.
Your top tower is under attack.
What I say?
Get out of there.
Whatever.
Someone's controlling Pudge. It ain't me. Should probably pause for this Pudge. Someone on our team unpaused. It was the Amber Spirit. He's angry for getting his item build judged.
The loom weaves my life anew. Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh, Tiny's level 23. Jesus.
Skitter on. Scuttling in. I am compelled.
Where is LC?
I have sentries draw. I was just fucking getting Uber Eats. You need to buy them for me? I can do it.
Who buy what?
I think draw bought sentries for himself.
Oh.
But I need draw to have farm this game. Like if she gets like Milner, Maelstrom, super strong.
Yes.
Oh yeah, so speedy.
Fuck. Tried cutting these trees.
I think I will push out top. Oh wait,
Yo, the
there's a
shaker.
I see the shaker, and I see you.
He whispered in my ear he wants to die.
Bitter pattern. After them.
Mother. Why did I do that?
Creep and crawl.
They're gonna set a trap for me. Get ready to hook me.
Cut and weave. A golden thread.
Oh,
no! What the fuck is going on? The courier. Courier.
Dire's courier has been killed.
Suckers.
Yes.
Got him. Oh, there's LC here. Oh, nice. Got him.
Just do it!
Yes.
Another triumph.
I'm not ready. Creep and crawl.
The enemy's bottom tower has fallen.
Scuttling in.
You force them to buy back.
Dire structures are fortified. Radiant structures are fortified.
They use Echo, right? Yeah, they use Echo already. Watch out for Ice Blast them.
Yes.
This is good. Let's get back.
I loom. Not yet. Bitter pattern. Snick snack. Skitter on. Ah, Lincoln Sphere.
The enemy's bottom shrine has fallen.
You know what? I shouldn't be minusing the big creep because I don't actually need experience.
Attack.
It doesn't make any sense to do that.
Cut you down. Yes.
Hmm.
I'm not ready. Scatter.
The enemy's top shrine has fallen.
It can't really kill me. Unless it gets combo chained by Earthshaker.
I am
The enemy's
Roshan's
top
up, right?
tower has fallen.
Oh, snap! Click, click, click.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Yes. Skitter scatter.
Oh, watch Echo, watch Echo, watch Echo.
Cut and weave.
Punch.
True sight. No.
Punch. Oh, our shaker isn't even close.
Radiant's courier has been killed. The enemy's middle tower has fallen.
Yo, man, your microphone's all weird.
Pick up dust for me. In the sentries if you can. Please.
Nice. Okay, I'll be right over. No, we shouldn't be here, Putch.
Roshan has fallen to
Fatality.
Regeneration.
Yes. I must. A golden thread.
Am I gonna get hex? Nah, no hex.
Cut and weave. I am compelled. Scatolini.
PL uses the Mantis Style just now.
Yes.
Oh man, I cannot even use my ultimate, dude.
I don't have my dust because Ember wanted to be a little.
Fast.
I know, right? It's actually supposed to be position 5 Weaver, but then I became position 4 Weaver.
the enemy's middle tower.
Because Pudge volunteered to be 5.
The enemy's middle barracks has fallen. The enemy's middle barracks has fallen.
I'll bait with it a bit. This guy definitely sees me. He's like, oh, this fat man, I'm gonna kill him.
The enemy's middle tower.
He's gonna kill you.
has fallen.
He's gonna kill you. What did I tell you? Dun, 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 dun. Oh, I have Fold Weaver MVP. Most hero damage, most kills, highest GPM. Yes, yes, yes. Lunchtime indeed. Alright, that was my last game. Does anyone have any questions or comments? We are gonna have one more stream tomorrow, and that'll be the last stream for some time, I think. English only, thanks. Thanks, Jason. And today's short stream. Oh, let's Pudge commend me. Some of the Necro be played. Hey, you told me I could play whatever I felt like. I might be back sometime in June. Yeah, I'm gonna try to stream. I can probably stream. It won't be 1080p, I think. And yeah, graphics will be lower. Hey, but hey, I'll be in the stream. I'm in Vietnam for all of June. I'll be back, Jason. See server hype? Oh god. Nah. I'm not looking forward to that. I like people who can speak good English. What time will I stream when I'm in Vietnam? I do not know. Thanks, Jason. Actually really hungry. Bye, snail poop. Jason, I don't think you really know me, man. Man, let's just keep talking. I'm out of here. My birthday's on the 7th, initial. Alright, any last questions, comments? Good night, Nizam. Yeah, I should be back tomorrow around the same time, so I should be around 8, between 8 and 9 again. Yeah, I got things to do today, guys. But tomorrow should be a little bit of a longer stream. Yeah, longer stream tomorrow. Muhammad, I'm from Canada. And Pharaoh, I have no idea what you mean when you said hat guy. Who is the hat guy? Tomorrow sounds good, Jason? All right. And also, I have things to do today, so that's why I'm going to end the stream early. Right, Pharaoh. Okay, well, sometimes I wear the hat, sometimes I don't. Okay, I'm going to get out of here, guys. Thank you everyone for watching the stream. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, back tomorrow between 8 to 9 a.m. Pacific time, so I'll see you then, okay? Have a great day, a great night, guys.